Welcome back, everybody. We are here with part 2 of the free-to-play build cabin in the snow and way of winter. Before we get into it, just a reminder to click that subscribe button and also make sure you turn on those noties so you get a notification anytime I do post a new video. Still working on grinding this channel and growing it, and any love would be really appreciated. So before we get into the details here, like I said, this is part 2. So part 2 of a 2-part build series. There is a video for part 1 that goes through all of the structures, all the placements, all of the builds and deletions and remodels and removes and repaints, which we are going to do some repaints in this video as well. That is just part of the build process. So if you want to see how we got to where we are right now, make sure you go and check out part 1. But here we are with part 2. So again, this is a free-to-play build. So everything in this entire build is free to get in the game. Now, what that means specifically for our case is that you can either grind it through getting different blueprints in game, you could get it through Twitch drops or through daily logins. That does mean that some of this stuff might not be accessible to you if you are a newer player in Once Human, but there is a really cool new feature that they're doing where they are putting some of the items that were previously available through Twitch drops, etc., in the challenge shop, the challenge seasonal shop, where you can use Mitsuko marks to basically open up special loot crates with your Mitsuko marks to get some of the items that you maybe couldn't have gotten. I've actually gotten some pretty cool stuff, so make sure that you do check that out as well. But back to the build. So quick notes here. I spend a lot of time on this kitchen. I don't know what else to say other than I spend a lot of time on this kitchen. I really like kitchens. I absolutely love this kitchen set that they had given to us a little bit ago as a daily login. It has a countertop, the corner countertop. It has the sink countertop there, as well as those cabinets. There are 2 forms of the cabinets. Some of them are larger, some of them are smaller. There's also a corner cabinet as well. You can flip them upside down. That is something that I would highly recommend when you're getting into building specifically the kitchen or storage units. Some surfaces just work better upside down. I don't know why that's a thing. It is just how it works. So definitely when you're looking for different ways to utilize pieces that you have, make sure that you flip stuff upside down. You never really know. Not everything can be flipped upside down, but sometimes it definitely adds a little bit of variety, whether it's giving you a different texture, it gives you more spots to place something. So one of the biggest tips of this particular video is going to be that. So here we are. As I'm going through and looking for items for the kitchen, you'll see me hopping around a lot. I do that a lot in building in general. ADHD, it happens. But specifically when I'm going through here, because I am going for those free-to-play items, and I do, as you can see, have a lot of packs. I'm really lucky. I have a lot of community members that support me and actually get me the packs in game. But you'll see that I have so many furniture items. So I will do a lot of back and forth as I see items and I know that I want it. I might just grab it and place it down. That is a build tactic that I actually use even without doing free to play. It helps me just kind of get an idea of what I want to use. Here I am kind of planning out the little dining room space, which is in that little circular area connected to the kitchen. It does change. I believe the layout changes a little bit with the furniture, and the wallpaper does change as well. The wallpaper always changes. The other thing that we were doing is I think we were grabbing some of the furniture to do a little seating area, which I had actually started to put upstairs. Eventually that's going to move downstairs, and it's going to the upstairs area is going to be our storage or our workshop area. So yeah, so here we are again looking for clutter. Absolutely love this item. The cats are so cute. I wanted that cat fountain so bad. It is one of my favorite items in the game, and it was part of a login series. These chairs also, again, all you had to do was just sign in, get a friend, and you got these really beautiful bar stools. So I think another thing to keep in mind is definitely keep an eye on when they do post stuff about having free items in game, because there's a lot of opportunities they do provide for us. One of my biggest decor recommendations is plants. I will buy a plant pack faster than any other pack, because even though there's the 250 limit for items, Plants just make everything better. Clutter makes everything better. I love a space that looks a little lived in. I love a little bit of coziness, and plants do that for me. So here I am. I grabbed the seating area, and decided to do that main floor area, the living room. I thought it just kind of made sense. You have this kitchen counter, and you can like look through and see the people chatting in the actual living room. Then again, here I am hopping around. I'm like, oh, items. This is what I need here. Again, I am in Way of Winter. So if you're seeing some items and you're like, wait, what is that? So the little furnaces, there's a furnace that I had placed in the kitchen, as well as that bed. Those are Way of Winter specific. There are some other scenarios that you can get them in, but in general, they are for Way of Winter. So do keep that in mind as well. Then here we have, it's a little bit of a moving day process. So I did have a starter cabin. This was my second home on this server. I ended up making another one after this. But I had a little bit of a starter cabin. So what I ended up doing is just kind of grabbing everything that I had from that starter cabin and bringing it over. Because this was my first Way of Winter, I was learning. There was a big learning curve for me. And it was just easier for me to go ahead and deskin everything and bring it over and just place it rather than building it all over again. Although I say that, and then we get to the power. I used to be a set it and forget it girl. Why would they put a challenge and an ability to turn off the wires if, they didn't want you to turn off the wires? I happen to have a couple of friends who always have the wires on, so I could not stand looking at their views of my homes. So I had to learn wires. And let me tell you, it was a whole situation, and it still is a whole situation. But honestly, at this point, I actually kind of find it fun. It's like a fun additional little puzzle challenge. So you will see some wires going a little bit crazy. I don't know if I fully actually organized them in this particular video, but eventually they did get in somewhat of an organized state. Then one thing you saw me doing there with the lights was creating a rainbow. If you did watch part 1, we talk about how any opportunity for a rainbow is a great opportunity. But in this particular case, the beauty of the rainbows over the deviants specifically is that you can create a really pretty rainbow, and also all of the lights will cover the deviants. So the deviants, some of them will have light requirements, some of them won't. But if you just do a rainbow all over like all of them, then you don't have to worry about it. And this is me fighting with the wire. So when you are doing wiring, when you hang a wire directly vertically above another, it does that weird little saggy hang lag thing. So that's kind of what I was fighting with there, and I think we fight with it for a little bit. I do like to try to make sure that my builds are as functional as possible. So even though I wasn't necessarily using this build for a long period of time, I wanted to see, how to make it as realistic as I could. So that's kind of just me going through and fighting with those wires for quite a while, but we do eventually get it together. And I actually think that it works pretty well. I think that it is, like I said, it's just a fun additional challenge to deal with that, that visual. So here we are, we're going back into the build. I had made that little alcove with the idea of doing a storage area there. So here I am again, adding a little bit of a rainbow over top of the storage crates. I had planned that in my initial build, that I knew that I wanted to do the storage crates. And I just really wanted to use a lot of the items that I don't normally use in game, because I do have a lot of packs. So you could see me using one of the paintings that they have you unlock, as well as some of the other prints, and putting some of the other paintings in other places. And here we are adding some mood lighting to the kitchen. I don't know about y'all, but I come from a household of, we don't use big lights. I don't use big lights in my stream room. I don't use big lights when I'm not streaming. I believe in the small lights. So coziness equals, I don't know, creativity to me. When a space feels cozy, it just feels welcoming, and I feel like people respond to it better. So little baby lights, little warm incandescent lights are always better for that. Now here we go, painting again. I believe I paint and repaint the walls a couple times here. Initially, I had wanted to go for a little bit more of a log cabin, but I was realizing with some of the base prints that we had, it didn't give me the exact vibe that I was interested in. So I ended up bringing in this brick, which I feel like kind of still reflects the idea that I had wanted. I had wanted like cozy cabin, maybe not necessarily as modern as it ended up, but based off of what I felt comfortable using in the game, that's kind of just where we ended up. Here we go with more plants. Plants save the day always. Also in Way of Winter, I don't know if you can see that. There's a little bit of snow dusting the plants, which we love. I love to see the little bit of detail that that server will add. And then here you go, just we're adding some windows in. I was kind of debating what kind of window I wanted to use and ended up going with just the base one, I believe. So I always do a little bit of a walk away and look at it and then go back. So if you just saw me kind of zoom away, that's what I was doing there. That is something that I'll do with my builds. Just take a little bit of space to, you know, just take a breather and look a bit. And that little area up on top, I don't know if you noticed, the beam actually was not connected. So what I ended up doing is covering it up with plants, because if the plant's there, you can't see it. Because sometimes when you have different layered builds like this, because this build does have so many like layers of foundations and it does make it interesting, it makes it hard for some things to connect properly. So that is something that I was kind of playing around with a little bit, was using the plants to my advantage. And then we had just seen that I was using the eighth wall trick again. As a reminder, the eighth walls, you can use them really, really creatively to add different details. You can play around with the wainscoting and get different prints. It's a really cool way to add some variety to your builds while still using some of the base game items. Now here we start going through and kind of seeing what items that I actually have that I can use to decorate. I thought about the hanging lights for a second. That was a very, very short-lived time that ended very quickly, as you can see. And I'm trying to figure out what the vibe is. So now I'm going into my inventory and I've got a bunch of different decor items. Again, things that you will have to unlock are things that you find. So like that industrial table, I've never gotten the recipe for it. I've never gotten the blueprint for it. But I did find the table and I had that. So I'm just kind of taking some stuff out of my inventory. It's always important to save furniture. Even if you don't think you're going to use it, I would say err on the side of save. Unless you have a bunch of them, it is something that you never really know what you're going to want to use, what you're going to want to build. Also, I love grinding for these butterflies. They're so much fun and they're just such a nice little pop of color. Again, an item that like you have to do in-game challenges and stuff for, but it's definitely worth the grind to add more stuff to your builds. So here we are, we're kind of decorating the office. I was like, I've never used the computer before. I've never used the office chair before. I guess maybe I could actually do these things. I have 72 million clocks, so I figured that I should probably use one of the clocks. I don't know about y'all when you are going to get your blueprints, but I wish that I had an actual ratio of clocks to everything else, and the amount of times I've not only gotten the clocks from going on blueprint runs, but also just from using the design workbench. It is so often. It's so often. In that little corner, I don't know if you noticed, we have a little areas where there's some snow, there's some overlap. I did mention in the first video, I do like to build in really bad spots for building. I'm not a big fan of a flat. I'm just not a big fan of a flat plot. I love some variety. I love a challenge. So I'm very rarely going to build on a flat plot, but that does cause some issues. So there's a little bit of snow clipping. It's not too bad, but it's there. It's definitely there. So here I am. That's where I decided that I'm going to use a computer because I never use a computer. It's just not something that usually goes in my builds. I err on the cozy, non-techie vibes when I do this. That's just kind of my approach usually. So we're just kind of looking through all of the different items that we have and seeing what works where. I really wanted to use that overhead light, the The big, I guess you would kind of call it like a fluorescent kitchen light. We had gotten that from login rewards as well, but it's a little bit difficult on those curved roofs, which is what I had tried. Now here we have a bathtub. I love me a bathroom. Real quick note, if you ever are on a server where you're losing sanity or living somewhere where you're losing sanity, bathtubs are so much faster than the beds, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that you use them for that. They have made it super easy for you to not even have to worry about hooking it up anymore, and I love that. Normally, I love a big bathroom. I didn't really focus on the bathroom this time. I think because I knew I didn't have all of my fun bathroom things I usually make, or I usually use. So here I am running out of resources. I've cut most of this out, but I will tell you, because I was really behind on this Way of Winter server, there are many, many, many times where I had to cut to go process some items in order to build. I maybe used all of my inheritance early game on my first cabin to get stuff to build rather than using it on actual helpful stuff. But you know, we all have our different priorities, and one of my mottos is any game is a building game if you try hard enough. So that is kind of just where I function. So we got the glass we needed. I think it was the glass for the mirror. I just wasn't really sure what to put in there, but we're just kind of adding a little bit more clutter here and there. Got some of the newspapers. I love the newspapers in the different size boxes. I think they're super fun. Again, looking for more plants. But the thing about the plants is that some of the base game ones, they do have a really weird large radius around them. So they're a little hard to place together in like close-knit situations. So that's me trying to, add a little bit more greenery, but I was running into that space issue. But again, we're just kind of adding more and more stuff as we go along, putting my babies in their little homes, grabbing all their resources, making more stuff to build more stuff. It's always a grind, but honestly, I'm one of the people that I love building in this game, and it's really fun for me. And I really hope that y'all are enjoying these build videos. I am hoping to do some more. I'm starting a new server soon. It is going to be a Manibus server, so it's going to be a little bit easier than this Way of Winter server. But yeah, that's going to bring you to the end of this. I really enjoyed doing this series, even though it was pretty quick and short. I hope that you enjoyed it as well. If you did, make sure that you leave a like and comment. Make sure you drop that subscribe. And thank you again so much for the support, and see you in the next one.